All right, Jeff, a lot of times an organization will need a wide area coverage for their two-way radios and their communications systems to cover an expansive range. And most of the time that entails expenses like building out an entire shelter and a building to put this stuff in that has to be climate controlled and the whole 9 yards, rent year long, year round. But you have an alternative to that.
Yeah, we sure
pretty exciting.
Yeah, we sure do. DAMM Cellular Systems, we make a radio network that can be completely mounted outdoors. Our other competitors often have to put their equipment inside of an air-conditioned shelter with racks of equipment. It takes weeks, sometimes months, to put all of that together, cable it up, rack it up, stage it, make sure it all works together. And it's very expensive, often over $100,000 for a shelter. Whereas we can mount everything outdoors. In this case, this is this customer, this utility has a 2-channel site here, but we could put up to 4 channels in this one box. And this powers everything and provides connectivity to the fiber directly into the box. And we can also do backhaul with FirstNet or cellular connectivity. We could power a microwave from this that's also mounted outdoors. And it just works great. And it saves a lot of money and speeds the time to deployment.
So no building.
No building.
No tower.
No tower.
Put it on a pole, antennas above,
yes,
and you're done.
You're on the air. Yeah, and we provide better coverage than most. The system that we replaced at this utility had an older repeater that had neg 116 dB receive sensitivity, and we have taken that to neg 124. So
what's that mean in layman's terms?
It means that if you're trying to talk in on a portable radio, you're going to be heard from a lot farther away, perhaps several miles further from the tower than you could have with the previous equipment. So they've already noticed areas where they had no coverage, huge areas, low areas. They now have coverage with our system. So not only do we save you money with a outdoor mounting, we also have some of the highest performance in the industry.
Yeah, I saw it firsthand the other day. It was very impressive. Our guy Dan was on his portable radio, and it was 50, 60, 70 miles away. And it was
crazy.
Just no problem at all. Just using this system. Now, what if the customer has radios and equipment that they already are using? Does this mean they have to start from scratch?
No, that's a great question, Mark. One thing that's really nice about this is that those 4 channels that we can put into this one box, they can do multiple things. So I can have analog on 1 channel or 2. I could have a conventional DMR channel, DMR Tier 2, which is digital. And then I can have a couple DMR Tier 3 channels. So if somebody has, let's say, 1,000 radios and they can't afford to replace them all today, but they need a capacity that DMR Tier 3 would give them, trunking digital radio network, you can operate the old radios in conventional mode, whether that be analog or conventional DMR. And then the newer radios can also operate at the same site in DMR Tier 3 mode, and no need for gateways. So you don't have to run 2 concurrent systems at the same time. And as they can budget and afford to replace the older analog radios, the older DMR Tier 2 radios that may be 10 years old, we can move off of those analog and Tier 2 conventional channels and make it all Tier 3. But in the short term, everybody can communicate seamlessly. You could even have different encryptions. You'll see people's push-to-talk ID coming in and out if it's between DMR Tier 2 and 3, and emergency works just fine. And you can keep track of where everybody's at.
And nobody else has this technology.
You'd have to use gateways to do that with anybody else. With us, everything is coming into one system. And conveniently, the core is right here in the repeater. Every site has its own core. So it's a distributed architecture. There's no single point of failure. And everything comes back to here. Even the dispatch consoles, which we make, the logging recorder comes and gets the audio and all of the data from the core. And the location transmission, the push-to-talk over cellular application that we make in Denmark, all comes back to the core here. And in this case, we have 7 sites covering the utility service area, and any one of those could go down, and they just keep operating.
That's great.
We've got some overlap between the sites, and there's not some server somewhere that you're hoping doesn't fail.
So if one domino falls, they don't all.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Very redundant system. And if you need site redundancy, we could just put 2 of these at a single site and maybe another power supply.
That is great.
Also, if you do happen to have a shelter, you know, sometimes shelters, they get old, they have cobwebs, snakes. They're not, you know, the air conditioner's not reliable. The grounding, I've seen some grounding where it's around the baseboard. It's not connected.
Oh yeah, I've seen some interesting shelters.
Sometimes you're like, no, I don't want to deal with it. Even if you do have a shelter, you're like, it's going to take probably a man-month to figure out how to get this thing up to spec.
Right.
R56 grounding and the like. And with us, just ground this. And it even has lightning suppression built into it.
Hanging on the outside of your old shelter.
Yeah. We have a customer in Australia, the Australia Defense Force, and we have 126 sites, and some of them are hung on the outside of the old shelter where the old equipment used to be, you know, under a solar panel. Some of them are off grid. But yeah, we don't need any air conditioning or heating for this, and it's used to being rained on, snowed on, has a very high and low temperature threshold.
That's great, which is huge here in the Midwest.
Absolutely.
Because, yeah, if you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes and it's going to change.
Absolutely. If you happen to run out of frequencies and you need more towers, this will also simulcast, and no extra cost for that. The GPS oscillator is built in, keeps it on frequency, and keeps the network synchronized. So that's a big plus. A lot of my competitors, if you add simulcasting, it adds quite a bit of cost to the network.
You got it all here in one box.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for watching. To learn more or to discuss a custom solution of your own, contact our experts at WarnerFamilyBrands.com. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe and get more news and views you can use.